It doesn't have to be a long topic. I just
Yeah,
figured it's timely.
I'm excited about our future guests, though. Very excited about what I'm seeing.
All right. Good morning. Hello. Welcome everyone to another episode discussion here on NextOppSocial. As always, I'm Richelle Wright Wilson. I'm joined by Joanne Buford, and today we're talking about reputation management, specifically your reputation online and the things that people say about you. So it's an interesting topic. I'm excited to get into it. But before we do, as always, if you're watching here either live or on the replay, please make sure you hit that subscribe button here on our channel so that you don't miss an interview, a live, or any of the incredible discussions that we have here at NextOppSocial. And we've got a lot coming. So we're excited for what we already have on deck for 2021, basically. We still have one more episode for this year. But so when we were brainstorming some topics to talk about over the past few weeks, I thought about the concept and idea of your online reputation, which we've talked about a little bit, but I think that this is a timely topic to talk about at the end of the year. Specifically, if you're a service provider or you're in the B2B space where you're dealing with people, having testimonials, having reviews, having other people saying praises for you has an incredible effect on your business. And I was looking at some stats, and there's all kinds of astronomical stats about how impactful testimonials and reviews and just what happens when people can see some social proof. But 9 out of 10 consumers will read reviews before they make a purchase. And that stat doesn't just apply to products, right? If you don't think people are Googling you or diving into what they can find out about you before they work with you, then it's just naive, especially at this point. People want to make sure that they're making a solid and sound decision, whatever they feel is logical before parting with their money. So I don't care if it's $100 or $10,000, people are they're looking and wanting to see something positive and affirming to them that someone else took a chance on you and it was worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, one of the things I think about is something that it's a principle I think that's applicable regardless of what type of discussion you're having as an entrepreneur. And that's take responsibility first, right? Take responsibility for your online presence. And I know a huge swath of what we're going to talk about today is going to be all about that, right? What are the things that you can proactively do to curate and protect your brand and promote your brand online? And that's the one thing I would start with, right? When you post online, it's not simply you promoting a product, you're also promoting your brand. You're also promoting your reputation. Be cognizant of that. That's something I've become increasingly more and more cognizant of, right? Because it's tempting to treat these social media platforms as just, vehicles to have fun, right? Quote unquote, let your hair down and say what's immediately on your mind. But increasingly more and more, and I just don't think this is a habit that's going to change once the quarantine conditions associated with the pandemic ends. I think once people have gotten accustomed to going online and looking at social media platforms to learn about people, I don't think that habit's going to go away. I really firmly believe that before a person sets an appointment or takes an appointment or keeps an appointment with you, they're going to jump online. And so it's going to be incumbent upon you to be aware of that, right? To make sure that you are taking a critical look at your LinkedIn, taking a critical look at your Facebook and at your Instagram and what it says about you. Take it off you and put it on a consumer. If you were a consumer, if you were a potential prospect or client looking at your platform, would you buy from you? And, I'll be transparent with you. I've lately, I think my LinkedIn's tight, but I looked at my Instagram, and the deeper I started diving into it and the more I started asking other people about what they saw, I was like, ooh, I don't know.
It's a different beast. It's a different beast with a lot of things going on. But
yes, it is. But that's part of taking responsibility, right? And if you do a lot of things on the front end, when the inevitable bumps and bruises that are just going to occur in business, we're dealing with people, right? Business is easy, it's people that we're dealing with. When those bumps and bruises come along, if you're being proactive, it's a lot easier for you to absorb those blows, and it's a lot easier to deal with, conflicts that may arise because they're going to come online.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important thing to do from time to time is periodically look at your stuff with your own set of fresh eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can even it doesn't even hurt to, like you did, polling people of like who already do know you, probably, and asking them like, what's missing from here, or would you still I think this is even especially asking people who maybe have engaged with you a lot but haven't taken action with you, right?
Yep.
You have a relationship with them but they've never bought from you or something
Right.
like that. Those would be good people to ask, right? Well, apparently I haven't convinced you to go over the edge. What is missing from this from what I'm putting out there? When I
Mm-hmm.
think about a lot that is when I do this for clients, when I'm doing like an audit of their social media and what they're showcasing, the ones that are really struggling, it really is a lot of either sales, just push of whatever their product or their service or whatever is, just ad nauseum with no real value behind that,
Mm-hmm.
or it's just they're just talking about themselves the
Mm-hmm.
whole time, um, and it's a fine line, especially with social media, of you got to find a way to relate what you know to in a way where someone's going to read it and it feels like it speaks to them.
Right.
Right? So that's kind of the happy medium there. But what I will say is that all platforms at this point, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, maybe not so Twitter. Twitter's a little different, but when we think about the three main ones that we're using for business, right? Social
Mm-hmm.
platforms, they all have a capacity to prominently showcase things like reviews or
Yeah.
testimonials. LinkedIn has it very prominently as recommendations. Facebook has it as reviews, which at this point rival Google reviews. If you have a stellar Facebook set of reviews, that's going to greatly impact your SEO and ability to show up higher in search results because it shows up in your Facebook profile in a Google search. But even on Instagram, where you might think, well, where am I supposed to put reviews there? You should be sharing testimonials, things that people say about you, to things like your posts or your stories that then create a highlight reel, right? So that when people are window shopping with what you do, there's a whole tab dedicated to people who speak on your behalf.
Yeah.
So you have to be a little more creative about it, but you should absolutely, and you can, take the screenshots off Facebook, or zhuzh them up where they look better on Instagram, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, it should be in every area, because also, just because someone finds you on Instagram doesn't mean they're going to stop. That's where they're going to stop either, right? So like you talk about how, yeah, maybe your Instagram could use a little work, but truthfully, if they found you there, they're going to continue their search and be like, well, where else is he and what else is he doing?
Yeah.
We're just nosy people at this point, and that's what because we can, and it's very, very easy for us to click on all of your social profiles and go look at them all in 5 seconds. So, maintaining that presence on all those areas is super, super important.
Yeah. And you hit on a lot of different things, but I like that ideal of understanding that your social media tells a story,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's an axiom that's shared a lot in sales management quarters, and people who are in sales, they say facts tell and stories sell, right? The stories are what create stickiness. The stories is what actually creates your branding. The stories creates a relationship between you and your clients or your prospects. I don't drink beer, but I still remember that Gary V that Vayner Media commercial with Dwayne Wade when they were swapping jerseys and when people were talking about what his career has meant to them. I still remember that commercial clear as day. You know, Gillette or any other brand of razor, I don't care. But I remember Gillette, and I find myself gravitating towards Gillette because I remember those commercials that they had earlier this year, or and I think even the tail end of last year, where they showed like these relationships and what it meant to be a son growing up and being taken care of by a father, and then it flips on his head, and all of a sudden the son is taking care of the father. And it's a Gillette commercial, but they're not even showing the razors; they're just showing that relationship. They're telling a story, right? Um, you know, it's skilled trade. And it's something that should be taken seriously, right? And we talk about the ideal taking responsibility. That's something you need to take seriously, how your social media actually is telling a story. It's not about selling just a product. It's not about some one-off, because you can go viral.
Right.
I mean, we've seen people recently go viral and nothing happens as a result, right? A million people looked at their content, but they still didn't move any product. They still didn't move any services. I mean, really, they didn't even really enhance their reputation. They're no further ahead than they were before they went viral, right? And it's because at the end of the day, it didn't tell a story about them that resonated with folks. And I personally am paying closer and closer attention to that. They used to say too back in the day that all press is good press, good, bad, and different. It was all good. Well, there was some truth to that, because before social media, before the advent of this online, we can go online and see each other and learn about each other. If you didn't have press, good or bad, you were unknown, right? Grant Cardone says the biggest danger to a business owner is not necessarily the mediocrity. It's just people not knowing who you are. Like, you're just in oblivion, right? Well, today, I would not say that all press is good press.
No.
Okay? No, it's not.
Everything you put on the internet lives forever, so remember that.
Yeah, you need to, like, you said, Rochelle, get those testimonies. For me personally, what I would share with entrepreneurs is it doesn't have to be some choreographed, super sharp, manufactured like it was in some type of movie studio, right? If you have a good, crisp camera, a good, crisp um, phone or tablet or iPad that takes good, crisp pictures, you can simply give someone a script or a loose script and say, hey, could you just talk about your experience about me, and post that on Instagram, post that on your Facebook. Third party will speak volumes more about who you are and create credibility in anything you could say about yourself, because we expect to say good things about ourselves, right? But if you can find really good clients and have them do that for you, I mean, that's incredible.
That happened a few times. Or I was thinking about a client of mine and a friend who is a lawyer, and she launched this new program, right? That's she specifically deals with trademark law, and she recently launched this new program, and right around this time is a little bit of a struggle to launch something new anyway. Like, our attentions are elsewhere, right? But just me getting on, it's not like I have some insane following, right? But I have a pretty engaged following of the people that I do. So when I recommend something, or I say something, or I push towards something, I tend to get a lot of messages about it, asking me more about it. And when I did that for her and her program, because I do believe in what she's doing, I was able to send a good handful of people her way. She doesn't even need a lot of people. She just needs a few, So it's not like you have, like you said, it's like you don't have this whole orchestrated effort. The other thing is that when I think about I think about my own clients when I recommend to them from a marketing perspective of when you're about to do this, make sure you have your people picked out, or who are also going to promote your thing, your program, your service, whatever, when you're pushing it as well. And they get so nervous about reaching out and asking for that, right? And doing something like having a script, or having like, here, I wrote it out all for you. You can adjust as you need to and embellish or whatever, make it sound like your own. I love when people do that for me. I don't have to think. I'm more than wow, you put in the energy so that I don't have, all I have to do is show up and do that. I'm more than happy to do that for people who have now taken the time to make it very easy for me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If someone had just asked me to do it and decided on my own, it's not that I wouldn't do it, but it certainly would have taken me longer. Maybe it would have gotten delayed. Maybe I would have forgotten about it. Whereas instead I could just jump on and do it immediately.
Yeah.
Have you even had people like, hey, I'm trying to get on this podcast and they have a recommendation area. Here's everything you need to fill out in the form. Can you submit it? Yes, that'll take me 1 second. Happy to do that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I think too, it's just like getting over, a lot of it is just getting over yourself of, you have to ask people, period. You have to ask people for reviews and testimonials. Like, yes, in a perfect world, people would just sing our praises all the time. But truthfully, our habits, especially online, are
Mm-hmm.
to go online to complain. Or we leave reviews when we experience something negative. That's what our mind goes of like, oh, I better tell someone so someone else doesn't make this mistake, right? But we don't have that same thought process when we're thinking about, well, I better tell someone so that they make sure they decide this person because it works so well. So it is getting out of your comfort zone and asking for those reviews. And the easiest way to do that is to make a habit of doing that all the time. But the reason why I also felt like, especially if you're watching this now, it's the end of the year, and this is timely. If you haven't done this all year, now is a very easy time to do this where it doesn't have to feel so uncomfortable. People are in that giving mood and spirit a little bit more. It's the holiday. And if you're asking them to not spend any money, you're just asking them to give their thoughts. And especially this year with small businesses really needing to hold the weight of word of mouth and reviews, I think people are more inclined to do it, but they still need that push, right? Yeah. So I just sent an email literally 30 minutes before we got on this call for a client. We just sent it to her email list of almost 500 people saying, hey, if you've enjoyed everything we've done this year, if you've been using us with our meal prep service, you've been enjoying our meals week after week, we'd love for you to recommend that to other people by leaving us a review. I'm excited to see, hopefully in the next few days, a pretty substantial amount of reviews that are now going to live on Google or Facebook, you know, but you have to ask, right? That's just so important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening to you and you're ready to take out my notebook because you, like I said, you know, these nuggets that you drop. I mean, what you're basically saying in so many words, is just be proactive.
Yeah.
Right. Don't sit back and just let it happen. Because if you just let it happen, you hit the nail on the head. Unfortunately, that is human nature. We're programmed to focus on the negativity as opposed to the positivity. And keep in mind, you know, I'm of the mindset that for every negative comment that's made about you, you need to have at least 5 to 10 positive ones to offset it. Right. Because unfortunately, even when people are screening through your content, what's going to catch their attention, what's going to set off that red light or and inflame them is the negative stuff. They'll read the positive stuff and say, great. But if there's not an overabundance of it, is that negative comment is going to stand out more than anything else, right? And so that's why you want to be proactive. You want to basically create this body of evidence, right? And of course, when we're talking about creating credibility, we don't often talk about the fact that, look, negative things are going to happen. Someone's going to criticize you. Somebody is going to come for you. Somebody is going to say some negative things about you online. You need to be ready for that. I know our last interview, Miss Selena Wells talked about having a first aid kit, right? Where's your first aid kit? Well, you need to have a media first aid kit somewhere available to you, right? When that stuff happens, so you can get out in front of it, right? And when that situation happens, you should have some press releases already written up that you can circulate, right? Just a basic press release where you can plug and play, copy and paste, do whatever it is you need to do, and have those available. When situations like that transpire, you should already have ready-made templates in terms of recommendations or in terms of statements or character statements that you would like people to share about you. Like you said, it's a lot easier to send those out. People okay them, sign off on, okay, I believe in this, or give them the option to make edits, right?
Mhm.
You should have these things in place so you don't make knee-jerk reactions, right? Because especially when you're an entrepreneur, it's almost akin to being an activist, right? We literally wear our feelings on our sleeves. It's our business. Our business is a reflection of how we feel about the world and the value that we feel like we bring to the world. And when someone attacks you, it's a lot easier to deal with sometimes than someone attacking your business. That's your baby, right? And what you don't want is that knee-jerk reaction, right? And I personally, I can tell you, I'm speaking from experience, right? 'Cause I've done it. I've done it years ago. Individuals would come at me and I would be like, man, I already need responsible. I'm going to tear you a new a-hole, right? I'm going to bury you. And it may feel good for a moment. You may have that 30 seconds of fame for a moment, but trust me, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line, like I said, that stuff doesn't disappear.
Right.
So somebody comes across that, and at the moment, people who were in it, they're like, oh, he responded. He went hard at him. Oh, that's exciting. Laugh, smile, likes. Doesn't look like that 2, 3 years from now. 2, 3 years from now, it's going to be like, oh, this person's an a-hole.
Yeah.
The person had a dispute with them, was upset about the product and service, and their response was to go in. No, you don't want those knee-jerk reactions. And, these steps, if you will, and these processes, if you will, that you're sharing with Shelly, that's how you avoid having those knee-jerk reactions,
Mhm.
right? Something that I would encourage people to consider. And look, when people post negative things or things that are unsavory about you, like I said, it's natural to want to go back at them. And look, I, for one, don't believe that the customer is always right, but guess what? The customer is always right,
Mhm.
right? In the eyes of the public. So let's say something, the flip side happens. Someone says something negative or pejorative about what it is you're doing. Apologize.
Right.
You take responsibility even when it hurts, right? You empathize with them. It's like, look, let them know that you are paying attention. Let them know that you are aware, that you hear them, right? And offer publicly to bring resolution to it. And
Right.
then make an effort to reach out to people, not just respond, emphatically via social media, but really look and see if their email is there. Look and see if their phone number is there. Look and see if you can reach out to those individuals, right? So we're talking about from a standpoint of promoting your business, but I also think about, when I think about online credibility, I also think about what are the things that you can do to protect your business and to protect your brand, right? When those
Yeah.
inevitable challenges come about.
I think as well, this is also timely because if you are a product-based business owner and you ship your product,
Mm,
we're currently living through a nightmare right now
mhm.
because your packages are going nowhere. They're not getting delivered. Um, the postal service is overwhelmed, and I am seeing every minute of the day someone having to release a statement about shipping updates, or please be patient, or here's what's actually happening, or I saw clients offering now discount codes because they feel so bad about it, about future orders. And because this is what happens, is that people get frustrated, especially when they don't receive their gifts in time for Christmas, right? And people, rightfully so, start getting paranoid around, if one of these people starts leaving me a negative review, it's going to take fire. It's going to just become, that's part of the other thing with the negative reviews. You only need a couple for them to, for some reason, start snowballing, right?
Mhm.
Because if, I would say even too, that if someone went to your page and saw an overwhelming amount of positive reviews, but they had a negative experience, they might think twice for a split second before
Yep.
they actually leave that review. However, if they're seeing more recently negative reviews, they'll be like, okay, yep, I'm gonna join this party, right? It's just, it
Mhm.
is what it is. So um there was a business, a local business. This was in 2020. 19 or 18. I don't know my time frames anymore. 2020 has taken that out the window. But they were a new business. They were building their business. They were doing a lot, and they were brick and mortar, and they were doing a lot of hype around their opening and planning and whatever, right? And I was, I had reached out to them about like, oh, like, I could help you with this, that kind of thing. And they never got back to me, but I watched it snowball into them doing so much damage to their online reputation because they couldn't handle any criticism. And they would take every bit of criticism with they would respond to everything with aggression, right? They'd respond to everything with more criticism. And this just created an insane snowball effect of more people leaving terrible reviews, probably just to see what response they would get. Okay. And the only benefit that this business was to me was that whenever I was sitting down for a consult, I could pull up their Facebook page and be like, let me show you how quickly you could lose everything. Like let me show you the extreme of what this could become. And until I didn't even get to do that very long until one day I try and open the page and it's not there because now they're not in business and they didn't even last 6 months. And it's like, that's how quickly it got out of control because it didn't even matter that at this point they had different ownership. They had different processes, they had different whatever, and they were going to fix everything. It didn't matter. It was too late. The reputation was damaged so much that nobody was willing to give it a second chance, even if it was different people. So, negativity will spread faster than the positivity. That's for sure. We see that in all aspects of life, but your online reviews for sure. And so, I see a lot of like product-based people who are trying to get ahead of, as soon as they started seeing that shipping things were becoming a problem and whatnot, that emails were going out before they got questions. Notices were going on their websites before people got questions. I had a client last week actually have me shut off their website and their shop and put up a message saying, we're doing this because we know we can't get you the orders in time. And, it's not that we don't, and we shut it down for a period of time so that, and to put up a message saying, we're doing everything we can to make sure we can fulfill the orders that we've got, and that they get there on time. So there was like, a week where they just shut it down. But it was proactive measures of like, they knew not only if they got these orders, they wouldn't get there, and they're going to potentially screw themselves moving forward with people who are just angry that they didn't get what they want when they wanted it, So.
Yeah. You hear people say, don't fan the flame. I'm thinking about a famous quote. I'm paraphrasing a little bit from Mayor Coleman Young, right? And he said, don't ever pick a fight with the press. Don't ever pick a fight with an institution that buys ink by the barrel. Well, look, it's funny, you said something earlier today, like everything's running together, like Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, those days don't exist anymore. There's just today.
Yes.
Right. I wake up and it's today. That's what it is. Okay. Look, when there is a shitstorm online of negativity, it's just today. Okay. And you don't want to fan those flames. You want to do everything you can, like you said, be proactive and distinguish it. And a lot of your online presence, I mean, I love some of the things you're saying because once again, it's about being proactive, right? I remember the first conversation you and I had together, like it was yesterday. It was downtown Detroit, Bamboo, and we talked about how client services really is, customer service and client services really is marketing, right? That's your marketing, right? And the ideal of surveying people, right? The ideal of being in constant contact and knowing what your customers and clients are thinking as opposed to just assuming, being proactive and not just assuming because they acquired the product and they haven't said anything, they're happy with it. That might not be the case. Follow up, have systems in place to follow up people and survey them and inquire with them to make sure that they're happy with the services or product that's been delivered to them. Just don't assume because there's silence, it's a good thing. Be a little paranoid. Be a little paranoid, right? Don't be 100% confident that you're that deal, that you're really the answer to everything. So I like that survey idea. I like that idea of sending out emails and following up with folks to find out what's impacting them and how you can be of service that way, right? And that's how you jump ahead of issues and you protect your business, but that's also how you grow your brand. Man, it's hard to create brand advocates, but when you get them, oh my God, you need to pamper them, you need to love on them, you want them to duplicate, right? You want to water those brand advocates so they're out there helping you promote your business as well. And that's why this whole idea of surveying and customer service and client services and catching up and talking to people, that's what it's all about, right? For me, when I think about my online presence, I think about it from the standpoint of I can spend money hiring someone, nothing wrong with that, right, to promote my business, or I can create brand advocates to do it for me, right? And it costs time, but it's worth it. It's an investment, right? And a lot of what you're talking about is it's how you make that investment happen, right? How you make those type of situations manifest where you have people out there working on your behalf and where those testimonies can live on for forever and where people continually tell those testimonies and tell your story. That's what this is all about. For those who are listening in, you don't have to take brand marketing 202 or 302 or 402. You don't have to become a marketing guru, right? If you're treating people right and you're staying in contact with people and you're creating brand advocates, that will grow your business faster than anything else. It may take longer for you to bake it, may take it longer for you to cook it, but it'll be worth it, right? It'll be worth it.
I also think too is like, especially when we're talking about online reputation, and especially this year, we are going to have to get just comfortable forever with new platforms opening up, new areas that we have to learn about and promote ourselves in. It's not to say that we need to be in all the places, but don't just assume that because Facebook is the behemoth that it's going to be the best place for you to promote yourself or long term, right? Just because another platform is new doesn't mean it's not going to work for you either, right? But part of what holds a lot of people back too with new platforms is not just the learning curve and content and whatever, is that now they're having to create a new presence for themselves on this platform. And I think of even as a service-based provider, okay, there have been times where I've gone to utilize to get clients on a platform like Upwork, right? But because I am new to that platform, even though I've been doing what I've been doing for forever, I look like I'm new. I look like, and the way that they have things set up is like, okay, well, you're new. It's like, well, no, I'm not new, but I'm like, how do you work around that with testimonials and reviews? And I had one client take an interesting approach to this. Their marketing, they've had to pivot, they've had to shift. He's a DJ, typically a wedding DJ, but obviously that ain't happening as much in 2020, or whatnot. And it's in 2021 looking phenomenally better for his big DJ type events. So he's had to shift, right, of where he's promoting himself and what he's doing. So he's using another platform, but that platform gives him an opportunity to reach out for reviews, not just for people who use that platform, but whatever. And he reached back out to the same people who have left him Google reviews and Facebook reviews and whatever. And it's like, hey, we're trying to get traction on this other platform. Do you mind leaving another review there? And it's like, of course not. And then all of a sudden, now he's got all these reviews. Now he's just established all this credibility on a platform that he started a week ago.
Yep.
right? You also don't need to be afraid to ask the same people who are already your cheerleaders to promote what you do in several different places. I promise you that no one's going to see through the wool there and be like, oh, this is the same person talking over and over. We're too distracted to pay attention to that.
Yes.
All we want to see are the 5 stars, right?
Mhm.
And the words that someone clearly thought out to even write. So that's another, you shouldn't be stuck and stagnant in an area, especially with marketing yourself, and be afraid to try a new platform or try a new process because you feel like you're gonna have to start over, even from the capacity of establishing credibility.
Yes.
Reach out to the same people. Those
Mhm.
same people are still your cheerleaders. It didn't change.
And you don't necessarily just need testimonies and reviews from your clients. How about your business partners and the people you work with,
Right, exactly.
right? How about your peers?
Hmm.
How about your employees?
Hmm.
Particularly if you're working in a B2B space.
I wish
Yeah.
there was more of that, of like employees reviewing their employers.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, look, if your employees are happy, that increases the likelihood significantly of you delivering a superior product or service as opposed to your competition. That is something I would certainly pay attention to, especially, restaurants, especially, certain places where I have to put my mouth or something comes in contact with my body. I definitely want the employees to be very pleased and happy with their experience working there, but I'm joking, but I'm really not. So what I'm saying is, yeah, I mean, if you have a small skeleton crew, or you have 50 or 100 employees, the extent to which you can get your employees engaged in the process of saying positive things about their work-life experience there, that matters too. That's PR, that's branding,
Hmm.
right? I'm trying to remember which one was it. I think it was Costco.
Yeah.
Gained a lot of traction some years ago because they had their employees basically going out that we're getting paid more than employees at that other place. And
Hmm.
that's why when you come in here, we greet you with a smile and a handshake. And that's where we're happy to meet your every need and whatnot. That caught people's attention. People started, if they paid more money to shop at Costco in some instances than the other place,
Hmm.
right? Because their employees were happy. That's branding. So that's important too. So to the extent that, once again, not to be redundant, but I think it's important that we mention this, once again, your business partners or peers that you work with saying great things about you. Oh my goodness, if your peers are commenting, oh, come on. And once again, that staff, that will do wonders for your reputation. And it will also inoculate you. It will inoculate you. And I just keep thinking about this because that's what I'm thinking about in 2021, right? So you have all these new businesses that are going to be born. Hopefully some of them will follow the advice being dispensed here. They'll meet wonderful professionals like Rochelle here, and they will actually do what she says to promote their businesses. But on the flip side, I know what else is coming too, right? It's going to be a lot of bickering and back and forth and cacophony and all the stuff that happens online. This is coming for you. And you want to be prepared. And this is how you inoculate yourself from it. If you've already proactively created goodwill and you've created a story, a brand, right? I'm trying to think of a couple examples without being specific. But I'll go back a couple years. I remember Steve Soul Food was synonymous with Detroit, right? Before you thought you didn't have to be a Detroiter. I mean, you could be living in the burbs, you could be living in another state, but people would come to Detroit, and when you thought about soul food, you thought about Steve's Soul Food. And it got to the point where there was even a point where it didn't matter whether or not the soul food there was better than anyone else's. It didn't matter if the customer service was better than anyone else's. It didn't. And he built the brand,
Hmm.
right? He built the reputation where people were, that's what they talked about, Steve Soul Food. Um, and you can't ride out on it indefinitely now, okay? But it made it a lot harder for someone like you said, Rochelle, to go online or even go out in public and say that sucked when you had all these advocates and all these people saying, oh, this is an institution here. And people love Steve Soul Food. They have the best this, that, and other. And, people knew his story. They knew who he was, right? He wasn't just some random person behind the company. People knew who he was in the community. You recognized him when you saw him. Now, I'm not necessarily saying you need to be like an activist or be like, a person knocking on doors, handing out pamphlets, but the extent to which you can marry your personal story and your business together and become a human being in people's eyes and not just some random big box company marketing some product online, trust me, it will do wonders for you, right? I can think of so many brands that are just, look, part of Apple's success wasn't just because of the product. It was Steve Jobs, his personality, the fact that people, whether they knew him or not, they felt like they knew him, right? They got to see his climb. They got to see his fall. They got to see his climb again. We knew about the health issues that were transpiring. We saw interviews with him where he was just kind of bearing his soul for what it was worth in that moment, right? That is also part of what created that aura of Apple, right? Same thing with Warren Buffett, right? I'm thinking about these brands that are just synonymous with success. And, you remove Warren Buffett's personality, you remove how accessible he's been, you remove all that stuff from Berkshire Hathaway, and be quite frankly, Berkshire Hathaway would be like any other brokerage or house, right? We wouldn't care one way or the other about what Berkshire Hathaway was doing. To an extent, it's about the fact that Buffett is synonymous with that, and he spent so much time purposely curating his brand, right? You want to think about your business the same way.
Yeah. And making it just like you understand that you got to show up on social media consistently with posting, just like you understand that you've got to do anything, you got to maintain that, just like you understand that you've got to bring in sales consistently to stay afloat. This should also be a habit that you start implementing with consistency. And that doesn't mean it's an everyday whatever thing, but like, don't just wait until you realize, man, I really need other people to be speaking on my behalf, to start doing that. So again, like I said in the beginning, because we're wrapping up here, but now is a good time. Now is a good time to start that habit, to send the email, to look up. There are an endless amount of automation and software things that are very easy to implement that will also just do this on your behalf, right? And keep this a well-oiled machine where you don't even have to think about it, right? Of asking for reviews or asking for feedback and making sure that if it's negative, it goes to you and not onto your review platform. Because that's important too. But finding a way to keep this word of mouth online reputation a well-oiled machine is going truly, I think, especially with the amount of businesses that are coming out now, especially with the amount of hustle mentality that a lot of people who don't want to work their 9 to 5 anymore, people are going to be fighting for more attention online forever. That's just the way it's going to be. And it's just going to get more and more crowded. It's not going to get less. Okay. So do what you can to keep yourself, standing out from those people, because you've worked hard to build up the reputation. You might as well be rewarded for that. I definitely believe that.
Hey, I don't have nothing else to say about it. You just wrapped it up and put a cherry on top.
All right. Well, we have one more chat. We have an interview coming up next week. Make sure to stay tuned for that. We're very excited. We have lots of exciting stuff happening in 2021. We're ready. We're ready. And we will see you all.